Going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us this morning for the Finance and Infrastructure Committee meeting. We are going to begin this morning with public comment. If there is anyone from the public who wishes to comment this morning. Okay, seeing none, we will then move on to our special order of business. And this morning we're going to welcome Dale Robertson from the Grand Rapids Public Museum. Good morning, Dale, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Dale Robertson. I'm president of the Grand Rapids Public Museum, and I do appreciate you having me back, scheduled me ahead from last time. You had a long morning, and the last thing I think you needed was me before going through another number of action items. You have action items again today, but I do thank you for allowing me to be here. This is my last time. And so it makes it's noteworthy, personally, obviously, but also I appreciate it because when the millage was passed, you put the millage, zoo museum millage on the ballot 10 years ago, and have invited me every year to come and give a report, and I've appreciated it. And because it's kind of what my mother used to say when I was young and began to get jobs. She says, it's time for you to start earning your keep around here. And it was, right, it's how we can demonstrate every year that we are meeting the obligations that we promised when the millage was passed to you. And so I appreciate the staff giving you both in the minutes, but also the hard copies of our annual community engagement report. And we actually started doing these every single year as a way to not only help the community understand and be able to put it out there, but also for you. And so this is just a visual aid. Here's the set. It's the entire set that we've done every single year. I think they get better every year, frankly, as we've grown and improved as an organization as well that we should. I had some different things prepared if I would have been here 2 weeks ago, and then something happened, something intervened, and her name is Phoebe Bridgers. And she's a Grammy Award-winning artist and put out a new album and created a planetarium show as a way to announce this new album, and picked select planetariums nationwide and worldwide for a preview of this album. And we had a series of shows for a week, 3 times a day. Everyone sold out. They approached us. They picked the planetarium at the Michigan Science Center, the Roger B. Chaffee Planetarium at the Van Andel Museum Center, and the Adler Planetarium. That's it in the Midwest. So what I think I want to do and try to be cognizant of my time here is I just think it's a good way to maybe weave the story of from then, 2008, to now. I took this job 2008, and the economy had gone the tank. We'd lost all of our city financing. We had separated from the city as a department, and we had 68,000 annual visitors. This last year, we had something like 250,000 annual visitors. So it's a trajectory that we had been on. But there just hadn't been a chance to make many investments. At the planetarium, and I got there, and actually for the first 4 years or so, 5 years, had this big thing in the middle, and it did star fields, but it hadn't been upgraded in so long. We had added Kodak carousel slide projectors to complete the star field. So when they came in the planetarium, you picked it on, they turned it on, and you could hear the Kodak carousel slide projector, tick, 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 all the way around. Trouble is, they're old, they're breaking down, we couldn't get parts. We needed to upgrade. And so, and people weren't sure, were we gonna survive? Raising money was hard. And finally, thanks to them, a lead gift from Wege Foundation We were able to upgrade the planetarium, brand new equipment, got rid of the big thing in the middle of the floor, worked with disability advocates, occupational therapists, program at Grand Valley, redid the planetarium, and took that equipment to a place where we could do things we'd never done before. Quickly as I can, one of the things that we promised to do, and talking with the Wege Foundation, so you can go infinitely large to space, can go infinitely large down to subatomic. And we did a planetarium show on the discovery of the Higgs boson, which completed the standard model of particle physics. The education advisor was the chair of the physics department at Ohio State University, who had been recruited from Columbia, who got his PhD from Cal Berkeley, who graduated from Michigan State, and before that was a graduate of Ottawa Hills High School. And man, could he teach. And Adrian Butler, a well-known DJ, did the narration of particle quantum physics. It's what we were able to do. And part of what we have done all along is to be as public, if not more public, that we've ever been, and honor everyone who comes in as a learner. As we, as an educational institution, means we have to be learners ourselves. So I think we've come a long way in embracing that role as an educational institution, welcoming to all. It's that, I've said this before, but it's this, first thing you walk in the door, it's a group picture. What do you do in a group picture? You look for yourself. Do you see yourself? And then to be physically and cognitively accessible to the broadest population. Everything we do is informed. When I was in law school, I had this really good property professor. And property law is really weird, because it goes all the way back to, the general counsel is nodding his head. It goes back to like feudal times in England. And every once in a while, he'd stop and he'd use a more colorful word than I am. He'd say, I'm not making this stuff up. And it was good to be reminded. And it's a way that we've done it too. And I've been cleaning some things out, as you can imagine. And I found a paper. I'd just like to hit on a couple of things, because it did, when I was looking back, I was really impressed with how well we've built on some foundations we learned very, very early. And I was really into learning styles and this cognitive accessibility. Ended up with making autism our baseline, right? So if you get it right for those of us on the edges of the spectrum, it improves the experience for those of us in the middle, and autism is our baseline. But I wanted to make sure that we as an organization were grounded in just brains and how we work and how we take in information. And somehow I found my way through, because it's West Michigan, you call somebody, they'll answer, and then they will refer you to somebody who will answer, and they're willing to help for the good of the community. It is a strength of West Michigan that I'm not sure I've seen anyplace else. So we got connected to the Christian Learning Center. And I think they go by All Belong now, but a person came in and went through an exercise with us. And I just want to highlight a couple of things, which is, the foundation of how we have done and do work. The brain demands meaning. We need to understand so we can survive. Learning needs to involve all the senses. The brain looks for connections. Memorization is not learning. The brain seeks patterns. Learning requires emotions. The brain needs review, and much of our learning is peripheral. Those have guided and have been infused with every exhibit that we design, every program that we do. We broke the museum world rules of putting artifacts and specimens in people's hands. In fact, we're going to take that to the next level with the opening of the CARC, and this is a story I've used before too for some of you. So when a kid drops a mastodon tooth and cracks it in half, we know what the inside of a mastodon tooth looks like. We got a dozen more, and we'll change the protocols of how we do that. But we do it, we try to, and again, this is just another example of all the senses. We have a baseball. We have the largest collection of autographed Detroit Tigers baseballs anywhere. from a local resident. And part of that exhibit is we put in a thing where you can test smells. Popcorn, leather, what, but it's just all those full sensory things. There's stories that you can listen to. There's seats from the old Tiger Stadium that you can sit in. They happen to have been mine, and I donated them. Good. I'm glad to see a lot of people sit in them like my boys sat in them. So I think I wrap up this career with many things that I believe that we've contributed to the overall good of the region and the county with our educational programmings, the post and pre-work, curriculum aligned, the riverfront, the upgrading of the exhibits, Meyer Theater is being upgraded, Anishinaabe. The original people of this place opens in just a couple of months now. Archives that'll open up, and exhibits planned for the future, and there will be someone new coming in. Good for them. The goal is to take it and make it better and more successful than it's ever been. And so with that, I think I'll just stop and say thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the support. The millage changed everything for us. I am proud to be associated with the City of Grand Rapids. They are our owner. They've been amazingly supportive of us. It's been a real pleasure. We do have a school, partnership school. It is a Grand Rapids public school, but it's also a partnership with Kendall and Grand Valley. I'm roommates with 6th, 7th, and 8th graders 9 months out of the year. I love them, and it gives me an opportunity to interact with them on a routine basis, and I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for this opportunity.
Thank you, Dale. We'll open it up for questions or comments from commissioners. Commissioner Ponstein.
Thank you, Chair Teal. So, Dale, I'll make my comments brief too, but I just want to say one thing. I think you didn't really speak more about what makes that museum go. I mean, every time I've been there, whether it's for an event or to see something, and you're there, your passion shows up and down. And that, I think, carries on to all the employees, and even people visiting on why the museum is so important. So I just want to thank you from the whole community, even outside of Kent County, and what a gem we have there, and thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Pakla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I make no such promises about brevity with my questions, but I'll try to keep them as quick as possible. So the first is, Dale, the numbers of school groups is just astounding, right? I mean, the growth of the number of students that are participating there in the wonderful explorations that happen at the Public Museum. What do we know about students that aren't making it there, or groups of individuals that aren't making it into the Public Museum, and any of the barriers that might be there to get them there?
So actually, it was the use by students, public, private, homeschoolers. We were turning schools away. That was the impetus for the expansion. That wasn't on in anybody's mind at all, but we were turning away, and the quality of the experience, I think, was so good, again, because of the way that we designed it, and that visceral experience of, being in the presence of the real thing created the stronger hooks for future information to land on. That led for the expansion. So we cover, we keep pushing it. We had over 46,000 students this year. We're going to be able to get up to about 70,000 at least with this expansion. If they go further with this tower on the south end with classrooms and lab space, they'll be able to get more. I believe that the demand is out there, because it's not just from Kent County. I mean, they're coming from Allegan, Muskegon, Ottawa, Newaygo. We get from Traverse City, we get from Kalamazoo County, so yeah. And the thing about the millage, every student, every young person, 52 weeks out of the year, gets into the museum up to age 17 free. And that's been a big help for a lot of the schools, right, is you can come for free. Now, if you want a program, you know, add on to that, but you can come and believe me, teachers can set a whole day just on their own. So, yeah, that's the goal. Wouldn't it be great in some ways to that the demand will always, we've always got to reach for the demand, constantly reaching for the demand? That would be fantastic.
You know, the other question I've got, I think you know my background's in education, but in
Yeah.
particular, it's in out-of-school education and summer schools, and the work I did at Grand Valley was in education partnerships. And so I grabbed onto the part on page 13 about partners in education and all the great work that the Public Museum does to not just bring students there, but to partner with education institutions. And I'm curious if you could talk a little bit about some of those partnerships that you find the most valuable and sort of the systematic approach to that, because I think one of the things we see is a lot of these education partners exist in silos, and so you're always trying to break down those silos in between the public museum and K-12 institutions and preschools and higher ed, and it seems like you've got a little bit of a winning formula to break down those barriers.
So yes, thank you for that. So I happen to be on the board of directors for an organization called Michigan Future Incorporated. So it's a public policy advocacy think tank that has this prosperity agenda. Education's a huge piece of this. They do really good, solid research. They're also not making stuff up. And one of the things that we know from studies is that those extracurriculars, like to me that was the peripheral thing to me, those extracurricular activities are really powerful for learning. And so we knew we had to engage those. We also knew that we didn't know everything. And that was another thing that museums tend to be I'm the expert, and we changed that. And so it is specifically reaching out based on particular, say, pieces of our collections or curriculum that we know to experts. And again, this town is just so wonderful about responding. We had Grand River Adventure as one of our programs this Saturday. And, you know, Elgro was there, and Grand Valley was there, and there is other groups. I'm drawing a blank now on one group, but, you know, you had this exercise where you can pull a string to see how long different root systems are, you know, and what works, and, you know, grass is about this long, and something else is from there to, you know, and you should plant more of that, you know, but all of these partnerships, and they're willing to come because of the broader public reach of the museum, but it has been very intentional for those reasons. I think the credit really goes to them because, you know, they didn't have to respond, but they did. And we were happy to ask because it just fills out, and you are right on it. It just fills it out. Quick aside, we did this thing, it was a few years ago with some partners. It was Young Women in Science. And Burton Middle was one of the big schools that was involved with that. So Stephanie Ogren, one of my colleagues, is herself a scientist, and she recruited some other female scientists. And these, you know, elementary school girls got to, you're a scientist? Yes, I am. And you can be one too. And those are just really powerful, I think.
Commissioner Sparks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Bill, I just want to say thank you so much. It's because of you and your ingenuity, your willingness to work across every kind of cultural divide. I remember having a few events there with the Cesar Chavez, and no one was taking a chance back then. No one was taking a chance, but you did.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It's because of your forethought about bringing people together that has made this very successful. Yes, the millage did help. Money always helps. But you have to have a great leader to do that. So thank you,
Yeah,
and we
you're
will miss
welcome.
you.
Thank you. Yeah. You know, my dad used to say it's the differences among us that makes the world go round. Smart man.
Commissioner Hildebrand.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to add a lot of the comments of my colleagues, and just thank you for all your years of service, Dale. Our paths have crossed over the years, and as my career changed and yours a little, our paths have crossed in a number of ways. In fact, just last week, I was at a tourism conference in Traverse City and didn't realize that Dale's on a governor appointee on Travel Michigan and serves the state in that way to promote tourism in our state. And he was on a panel and did an excellent job in that area too. But always appreciate, Dale, the energy you bring to every room. Your passion for history, where you make it a priority to collect our history, save it, present it to the public for future generations to learn and enjoy. So just always appreciated you and your work. I did have one question. I know you talked about the archives and the size of the collection of the Grand Rapids Public Museum in past presentations, and I know that's a pride of yours. And I remember many years ago you took me through, I think it was an old Grand Rapids Public School building that stored all the archives of the Grand Rapids Museum, and I was just shocked and amazed with how many things were in that building. Now, I don't know where the archives stand at this point, but I know it's a sense of pride for you, and I thought maybe if you would just wanted to comment on that, I'd appreciate that.
Yes, thank you. So, yeah, the archives it's relatively new buildings that were constructed as part of the S-curve, but we were storing a lot of our archives in the old public museum building, and that's what you're thinking of on the corner of Jefferson and State, a unique design when it was first opened in 1940, unique in the nation. It was the first of any museum of any size that had a street-level entry, and that was by design by Frank DeFord. Anyway, one of my predecessors. And so that building now is the Grand Rapids Public Museum High School, totally refurbished. But the archive building is, you're right, 250,000 artifacts and specimens by the most conservative count, 98% donated by the people of West Michigan. And that's really the source of pride for me. That just goes back to the principles of the community, and to be able to open that up now for regular access on a routine basis for anyone that wants to come in, I think is meeting that public commitment. If I could just say another thing, because I'm thinking back now to Senator Hildebrand, and when we began this road down toward the seeking a millage, it was informed big time by the Detroit Institute of Arts in their millage. I mean, it was in a mirror situation. They're owned by the city, lost their funding, had to find their way to long-term sustainability, and they passed a millage, but they got some help from the state legislature being publicly owned. And we came to you when you were in the state Senate, and again, this was a time when it was pretty iffy. You were a supporter of some of that bridge funding that kept us going, that got us to the point where we could stand in front of the voters and be judged. So I thank you for that support too, and that advocacy on behalf of West Michigan and our public institutions, that you were willing to be an advocate for that.
Commissioner Halstead.
Yes, I don't have a question. Just want to thank you for your service. It is a huge accomplishment when you can provide a service where kids can learn. And it's not just older kids. I have 11 grandchildren from 1 all the way up through 10, and every single one gets excited to go multiple times a year. So that's an accomplishment for you. So thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Commissioner Womack.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to thank you for your service, and I recently did an interview with our radio station in Broadway GR, and the AV, just anything we needed was there. It's just so advanced from so many places we go, and even watching some of the exhibits, how the digital plays a part of it, and just the modernization, but still the traditional feel of a museum. So I think you meshed that very well. Just want to thank you and also thank your staff. And I'm just hoping your succession plan at the museum can give us the great service you've done. And I hope I will see you again. I know I will, but every time I see you, I just want the last thing that you remember from me is thanking you for all you've done. with your service.
Thank you.
Dale.
If I could comment on that, because we do have this digital strategy, right, of putting all the collections online and incorporating. The new original people of this place, Anishinaabe exhibit will open in a couple of weeks, will be, it will be a combination of real artifacts and technology that, at least for a while, will be unmatched in the nation. Somebody will come ahead of, but for a while, it will be. It will be, come and see it, and rightfully so, we ought to be at that level to talk about the original people of this place. It'll inform everything else we do too. But the key thing I'd like to make, to your point, Commissioner, is that the museum, and I think we try to be a safe place where you can come and you feel good. It's safe. I understand. And that's the best environment to be in to learn something that you may not know about. I mentioned the quantum physics, but it's a safe, good, easy place to take that in and just let your mind take it wherever you want to go. That's been a core piece of this. So it is that combination of the digital, the familiar, those surroundings that you can feel. It is using all of the senses. Very important. I thank you for bringing that up and pointing that out.
Thank you again, Dale.
Commissioner Oliver King.
I'd like to join the other commissioners in saying thank you, Dale. It just made me think about my children experiencing the public museum, and they're 27 and 25, and they can recall various aspects of that visit. The same way when we would have family or friends to visit, we always took them to the public museum because it is such an asset in our community. And that is because of you and your staff making that feel safe and welcoming and a learning experience. So thank you. I wish you only the best.
Yeah, thank you. You're welcome. If I could, one on that too also, we don't know how many lives we touch. I go forward on faith that we do, but every once in a while you get one. And one of them was a young guy that now works at NASA and helped design the camera for the Mars rover and is working on the project that spaceship flew out, grabbed an asteroid, brought it back to Earth. Anyway, his official NASA biography, he's also a pilot, PhD, all this, says he got his start and the seed was planted as a student in Zeeland Public Schools by attending planetarium shows at the Roger B. Chaffee Planetarium. So every once in a while, right, you get a proof that we actually did that. But I go forward in faith that there have been many lives that have been impacted in one way or another.
Commissioner Green.
Thank you, Chair. I'll try to be brief because everybody's had some nice things to say. Dale, I think this is probably the last time you're going to formally come before us, so I think it's appropriate. But we are in this work in these institutions custodians, right? We inherit whatever the state is of the institution that we're serving, and you did that and have just taken this organization to that next level. And I just want to also express my appreciation. In the Van Andel Museum Center, I feel like it's come full circle because I remember going there to the new building when I was a kid in school, and now opportunity to take my kids there. And that next generation is really special. And I just want to say, express my gratitude as my colleagues have for all the work that you've done and just being that faithful custodian of this great institution, doing the best that we can to move it forward. So I express my gratitude. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yeah, I think it was really well. Yeah, I'm just a custodian, and that's really what it is. Yeah, and if I guess I could say it was Frank Demond, who was my predecessor. And this fitting with that custodian, there's a thing, the street level entry, the accessibility, the words in the dedication plaque at the old museum dedicated to free dissemination of knowledge to all, learning institution, all means all, and of course physically and cognitively accessible, all of that. yeah, I think as that custodian, I feel all I've done is just run Frank DeMond's playbook in the 21st century. Thank you to him. We're just building on those values that he established. Yep.
I don't have any additional questions or comments at this time, so I just want to echo my colleagues and say thank you. Thank you, first of all, for your flexibility in moving your presentation to this week. But thank you for everything you've done for the museum, and I'm sure this is not the last we will see of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, with that, we will move on this morning to item agenda number 4, the consent agenda. Is there a motion for the consent agenda? Moved by Commissioner Green, supported by Commissioner Sparks. Any questions or comments this morning? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion passes. We are on to item 5, action items. 5A is from Parks and Recreation, easement agreement with Cannon Township for the purposes of developing a Cannon Township trail within Luton Park.
Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to approve an easement agreement with Cannon Township to facilitate the installation of a multi-use paved asphalt trail and trailhead amenities in Luton Park located at 5950 10 Mile Road Northeast, Rockford, 49341, and authorize the county administrator or their designee to execute the agreement on behalf of the county, subject to the approval of the final easement language by the county corporate council. Summary: Cannon Township owns and operates the Cannon Township Trail, a 4-mile separated non-motorized pathway that originates in Cannon Village near Cannonsburg Road and Honey Creek Avenue and currently terminates at the cul-de-sac of Hickory Street just south of Keys Avenue. The township has secured funding, including local and grant funding, to extend the Cannon Township Trail north on Hickory to Keys and west on Keys to Cortland Drive, where it will connect into an existing sidewalk system. Along the route, the proposed extension will pass by Luton Park, a 264-acre active and passive recreation park owned and operated by Kent County Parks. Cannon Township and Kent County Parks have mutually agreed to a plan to allow the proposed trail to meander into Luton Park, allowing trail users a better user experience and providing added value to the park. The proposed project includes trailhead amenities at the north end of the Keys parking lot for the path, including benches, trash receptacles, wayfinding, and landscaping. The proposed routing has been mutually agreed upon by the Parks Department and Township to accentuate the features of the park, provide minimum disruptions of the current park use, and provide trail users access to park amenities, including the extensive single-track mountain bike network. Costs of the project will be borne by Cannon Township. Corporate Council has reviewed and approved the easement agreement language as to form.
Is there a motion for this item? Moved by Commissioner McLeod, supported by Commissioner Pakla. Questions or comments? Commissioner Pakla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I thought it would be fun to note for the record, I think this is the first time I've seen the word meander in a document in our commission. So the second question / comment I had is, and this might be for Ben as well, this strikes me as a really great partnership opportunity where we're not using county dollars to expand the recreation system, but we are expanding the recreation system, and then a local unit of government is able to use a small amount of money to access an even larger recreation system rather than creating their own. Is this a model that we have in other spaces? Is this a model that we're planning to sort of explore? Is this a first of its kind? I'm just curious. It seems like it's a great sort of future-looking partnership.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate the question, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. I spend a lot of time meeting with our local communities to develop these partnerships exactly like this. So as the administrator is holding his quadrant meetings, I always end my presentation with, I'm there with kind of the key points in our master plan and say, hey, if you have anything that follows one of these points, give me a call and we can get together. And trails is certainly one of them. This isn't a new relationship for us, so we've done it with Cannon Township in the past. Currently, the Cannon Trail meanders through Townsend Park as well. When Ada Township built the Pettis Trail, that meanders into Chief Hazy Cloud. So anytime we have an opportunity to partner to create a better experience, we're going to at least have that conversation.
Commissioner McLeod.
Just a follow-up question. I think this is a great agreement as well, and I also agree that Meander is quite nice to see in action item. I wanted to just ask about the maintenance related to these, this relationship. So does the county assume that, or is the township going to contribute to the just maintenance of the things that are being added because of this relationship?
Yeah, so the default is Cannon Township is responsible for all the maintenance. Now, with these partnerships, we do sometimes, right? So if we already have a mower in the park and we need to mow the trail side, we're not gonna, force Cannon Township to bring in a separate. So it is a true partnership, but the default is that Cannon Township does maintain all the maintenance responsibilities. If the path needs to be replaced, if something is vandalized, they'll be responsible for coming out and fixing it.
Any other questions or comments on this item? Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Okay, seeing no additional discussion, all those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion passes. We are on to item B, also from Parks and Recreation, easement agreement with Consumers Energy for the purposes of developing James and Shirley Bulk Family Park.
Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to approve an easement agreement with Consumers Energy to facilitate the development of James and Shirley Bulk Family Park, located at 7601 Belding Road, Northeast Rockford, and authorize the county administrator or their designee to execute the agreement on behalf of the county, subject to the approval of the final easement language by the county corporate council. Summary. In 2022, the Kent County Parks Department, in cooperation with the Kent County Parks Foundation, received a generous donation from James and Shirley Bulk to purchase the approximately 120 acres of the former Silver Lake Country Club for the purposes of a Kent County park. In 2023, the department conducted a public-facing planning exercise to develop a conceptual master plan for the park, which included, among other items, a paved drive into the park that aligns with the intersection of Sunfish Drive, a parking lot, a pavilion, and a nature-based playground. The Cannon Township Board committed to funding and constructing these improvements, and earlier this year, the board approved a separate easement agreement with Cannon Township to facilitate those improvements. This easement with Consumers Energy is required to provide electric utility service to the pavilion being constructed by Cannon Township, as well as any future development in the park that may require electricity. The proposed easement has been reviewed by Cannon Township and Kent County Corporate Council. Minor easement revisions have been requested, and final easement language will be approved by County Corporate Council prior to execution.
Is there a motion for this item?
So moved.
Moved by Vice Chair Hildebrand, supported by Commissioner Womack. Questions or comments on this item? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion passes. We are on to item C from Fiscal Services, fiscal year 2027 grant acceptance.
Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to accept the FY27 grants for budgets beginning October 1, 2026, and to authorize the board chair or designee, purchasing manager, department director, member of the judiciary, or an elected official as necessary and applicable to execute the grant agreements, approve extensions, and amendments. The board chair or designee may also approve increases to the grant appropriations not to exceed 15% of the original awards. Summary, the attached listing details the FY27 grant request. Below is a summary by fund. Health Fund, $20,150,555. Indigent Defense Fund, $19,824,043. State Projects Fund, $3,073,891. Federal Projects Fund, $926,550. KCCA Fund, $6,348,589. Child Care Fund, $24,331,748. The budget for the FY27 grants will be included in the FY27 General Appropriations Act. Prior to signature, Corporate Council will review and approve all documents.
Is there a motion for this item? Moved by Commissioner Oliver King. Is there support? Supported by Commissioner Sparks. Questions or comments on this item? Commissioner Pakla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Al, we do a really good job of identifying and bringing in those grant dollars. I think it's been a consistent comment that I've given in accolades of the group. Are there any big groups of dollars that we routinely don't get that our peer counties across the state do get? Anything we don't go after? Anything that could offset anything else?
I think and I'll invite others to chime in if I miss something, but I think the biggest difference is Kent County chooses to be an entitlement county. So we get the CDBG and home, a bunch of dollars up front that we then work with local units to distribute and use for various programs. There are a lot of counties that choose not to be an entitlement county. And so in that case, all the local units would apply separately for some of the state economic development or the federal economic development money. And so I think you may hear of a lot of other grants, and that would be more of the source of those grants, is that county has chosen not to be to have that status. So.
Sure, that makes sense. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments on this item? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion passes. We are on to item D from the Administrator's Office, Fiscal Year 2027 General Appropriations Act.
Okay, I just flipped right past it. Okay. Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to approve the FY 27 General Appropriations Act as the official budget for FY 2027. Summary. It is the responsibility of the County Administrator Controller to prepare an annual operating and capital improvement program budget for the county, and the FY 27 budget has been submitted to the Finance and Infrastructure Committee for approval. Pursuant to state statute, a public hearing on the proposed budget was held on August 13, 2026, and the appropriate public notice was published. The Finance and Infrastructure Committee and the full board have reviewed the FY 27 budget in detail. Estimated total appropriations for the various fund types are proposed as follows. General Fund, $265,525,004. Special Revenue Funds, $258,457,750. In September of 2026, the Board of Commissioners will be requested to authorize 1.5121 mills for voter-approved dedicated millages, which has been used as a basis for preparing the FY 2027 budget. In November of 2026, the Board of Commissioners will be requested to authorize 0.4086 mills for the Zoo and Museum millage renewal and an additional 0.2468 mills for the Corrections and Detention millage, subject to voter approval in November on the November 3, 2026 general election ballot. In May 2027, the Board of Commissioners will be requested to authorize a general property tax levy on real and personal property within the county on the equalized tax roll to support county general operations in FY 27.
Is there a motion for this item? Moved by Commissioner McLeod. Is there support? Supported by Commissioner Womack. Questions or comments on this item? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion passes. On to item E from the Administrator's Office. Ready by 5, Fiscal Year 2027 funding allocations.
Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to approve the allocation of $9,667,650 of the FY 27 Ready by 5 millage funds as recommended by First Steps Kent to approve the agreement for the administration of Ready by 5 millage services with First Steps Kent and to authorize the board chair or designee to execute the agreement and approve amendments. Summary. Kent County has an administrative services agreement with First Steps Kent to manage contracts with community agencies to provide Ready by 5 millage funded services. The Ready by 5 millage funds allocation is evaluated annually based on new program proposals, current year operations, and available funding. The Ready by 5 Resident Proposal Review Committee evaluated 39 funding requests for FY 27, an increase over the 33 received last year. The recommended funding allocations were forwarded to the First Steps Kent Board of Commission, which is now recommending them to the county for approval. The FY 27 recommended allocations includes $8,746,833 for programs in the following service areas: accessible resources, born healthy, developmentally on track, early learning. An additional $261,942 in funding for the following service supporting activities: data collection technical assistance, contracted evaluation services, and training for funded organizations. An additional $658,875 is included in the total allocation for millage administration by First Steps Kent. In 2025, Ready by Five reached nearly 17,000 individuals and more than 11,700 families, an increase of over 1,000 from 2024. The network of providers serves families in rural and urban communities of Kent County, including those with specialized needs, those experiencing homelessness, immigrants and refugees, children with disabilities, and children with behavioral health concerns. Assistant Corporate Counsel will review and approve the Ready by Five Administrative Services Agreement as to form.
Is there a motion for this item? Moved by Commissioner Oliver King. Is there support? Supported by Commissioner Sparks. Questions or comments on this item? Commissioner McLeod.
Just one question. So I thought that the proposals that were approved, they all looked really good in terms of the services that were being provided. But I was looking for the fourth proposal, the information on the fourth proposal that wasn't funded. I saw that I thought there was 35 that was approved, and there were 4 that weren't, but there was only information on 3. Did I miss the fourth one?
You did not miss a fourth one. We had an organization closure, which will not be awarded this
Got
year.
it. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments on this item? Commissioner Pacla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We just, at last Thursday's meeting, accepted the Early Childhood Task Force report, which, among other things, indicated that the state really needs to be looking at large-scale investment to support the local work that we're doing. Do we see any movement in that that's sort of supplementing the work that's happening in these grants right here that could maybe in the short term, even the long term, reduce some of the pressure that exists on the local grants or allow us to expand some of the other ones?
I'm currently working on a packet to present to all of you so that hopefully we can establish some grant support to expand the millage.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on this item? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion passes. We are on to item F from the Administrator's Office, Senior Millage Funding Allocations for Fiscal Year 2027.
Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to approve the allocation of $18,678,600 in senior millage funds for FY27 as recommended by the Area Agency on Aging of Western Michigan, to approve the agreement for the administration of senior millage services with AAA, and to authorize the board chair or designee to execute the agreement and approve amendments. Summary: Kent County has an administrative services agreement with the AAA of West Michigan to manage contracts with nearly 40 agencies to provide services with funding from the senior millage. The allocation of senior millage funds is evaluated annually based on new program proposals, current year operations, and available funding. The Kent County Senior Millage Review Committee evaluated fiscal year 27 funding requests and recommended funding for each service. These recommendations were forwarded to the AAA West Michigan Board of Directors, which is now recommending them to the county for approval. The FY27 recommended allocation includes $17,838,063 for programs in the foundational, supportive, and miscellaneous service categories, and $840,537 for administration of the millage-funded services. In FY25, the senior millage provided services and programming for 19,979 unduplicated clients, more than 6,500 of whom were low-income, over 6,000 reported living alone, and more than 2,000 were veterans. Assistant Corporate Counsel will review and approve the Senior Millage Administrative Services Agreement as to form.
Is there a motion for this item? Moved by Commissioner Halsted. Is there support? Supported by Commissioner McLeod. Questions or comments on this item? Commissioner Ponstein.
Thank you, Chair Teal. Al, the senior millage obviously is a fixed amount of money that we use and spend on behalf of our seniors. Is there any areas, I mean, you got a lot of different categories, but is there anything that we're lacking or we're missing or we just can't do with the funds we have?
That's a really good question that I don't have an answer to, so.
But somebody does.
Good morning. We collect a lot of data and look at a variety of different partnerships outside of the millage and really try to leverage other dollars and support for kind of those higher need services. When we look at these services, we have different categories such as foundational, transportation, in-home services, meals. So we look at other partnerships, but those are really high demand and growing need services that we see specifically for the senior millage. So we do also administer the Older Americans Act, and we look at both types of funding, along with looking at other grant opportunities that we might forward to those partners to apply for. So we do constantly look at the wait list that we're seeing, along with the needs assessments to try to maximize the support we can get from the community.
Are there any other questions, or Commissioner Pacla?
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, when I look at the list, and in particular the percentage based on each sort of grouping of services, transportation is technically the third, but if you combine all three, it's more like the second biggest. Are we seeing any trends in transportation needs as our population sort of grows outside of the urban corridor, as we're seeing more and more in the townships that are needing support for transportation, as we're seeing folks that need to get to our townships for care, management? Are we seeing any trends in that space that we should be aware of?
I think there's a variety of needs, obviously, for transportation, really focusing on medical, but also social needs, transportation within our county, but then we serve a 9-county area, so we also see an uptick in that cross-county transportation and looking at flexibility for how can someone up north come to Grand Rapids and have a good transportation experience at a semi-reasonable cost. So we're looking at that landscape, not just for Kent County, but throughout our region to see what those trends are. But it's great to see utilization increase kind of past that COVID, but we're really seeing a mix of that medical need along with that social, which is so important as well.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions or comments on this item? Okay, thank you. Seeing no additional discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion passes. We are on to item G from the Administrator's Office, Fiscal Year 2027 Prevention Initiative Funding Allocation.
Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to approve the allocation of $1,465,000 in FY27 prevention programming as recommended by the Administrator's Office. Summary, the Board of Commissioners created the Prevention Initiative and Prevention Programming Fund in 2002 to fund early interventions that prevent costly social and health problems among families. Requests for proposals were issued in FY25 for prevention programming during FY25, 26, and 27. 9 proposals were selected to fund programs that prevent longer-term challenges for families with risk factors for housing insecurity, domestic violence, mental illness, and child sexual abuse. Staff recommends extending the current contracts through FY27 for the third and final year, and staff will issue an RFP to identify programming to begin in FY28. Recipients will submit annual reports on FY26 impacts of the prevention funding at the close of the fiscal year. Examples of FY26 work include Kent County School Services Network embedded community school coordinators in 49 schools that resulted in 2,130 interventions to assist with student attendance, behavior, and family support. 832 enrichment opportunities organized for students, families, staff, and communities, and 514 referrals to mental health providers to support students and family. Children's Advocacy Center updated the Kids Have Rights Body Safety Education Program curriculum to pilot in Kent County schools in the 2026-27 school year.
Is there a motion for this item? Moved by Commissioner McLeod. Is there support? Supported by Commissioner Womack. Questions or comments on this item? Commissioner Pacla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Al, do we have any way to quantify the reduction in potential future costs as a result of this? I mean, you know, the whole purpose of the fund is, as it says right there, to prevent costly social and health problems among families. So I'm just curious if we have any data or any way to sort of just showcase what this investment is doing, because we know it is doing a lot of really good things, but we want to make sure that we're able to communicate that to our constituents.
I'll have Jenny start, and then I may wrap up.
Not exactly. We do collect data from the providers on the impact that they're seeing from the services they provide, but we would need to engage people with much more knowledge and experience than myself to really dig into, is there a way to show what's not happening as a result of the investments?
And then I would just follow up and say that we have been slowly working towards an approach on data analytics, which hopefully will lead to being able to run predictive analytics on a number of the services that we provide to try to assess how we're doing and how we might target those more efficiently.
That's, yeah, very useful. I would be curious if there are potential partnerships with economists that are way smarter than me to be able to model some of that. I know that there is some really interesting modeling that exists out there around this kind of predictive analytics and investment. So I'd be curious, again, just to continue to champion and showcase the great investments that we are deciding on up here.
Commissioner McLeod. Oh. Okay, any other questions or comments on? Any other questions or comments on this item? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion passes. We are on to item H from Community Action, fiscal year 2026, Walk for Warmth Special Project Fund Appropriation.
Action requested, recommend to the Board of Commissioners to accept and appropriate $21,325 in donations to the FY26 Walk for Warmth Special Project Fund budget. Summary. The Board of Commissioners previously appropriated $10,567.11 for the 2026 Walk for Warmth Special Project Fund. Additional donations in the amount of $21,325 were raised during the 2026 fiscal year. The Walk for Warmth funds will help families and individuals in Kent County avoid utility shutoffs and restore gas and electric services. Assistance is available to households with incomes at or below 250% of the poverty level as determined by KCCA. With the additional funds, KCCA anticipates assisting approximately 50 households, providing an average payment of $426 per household.
Is there a motion for this item? Moved by Commissioner Womack, supported by Commissioner Oliver King. Questions or comments on this item? Commissioner Womack.
I sit on the KCAA board or committee, and just these essential needs that they provide have immediate impact within the communities and throughout Kent County. So I'll definitely be supporting it and just very thankful for them going beyond the call of duty to make sure they reach out and expand those services to people.
Any other questions or comments on this item? Okay, seeing no additional discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion passes. We are on to item I from Community Action, appropriation for senior center staffing increase.
Action requested, recommend to the Board of Commissioners to accept and appropriate $15,750 in additional grant funds from the Area Agency on Aging of West Michigan to the FY27 Kent County Community Action Fund budget for the senior center staffing contingent upon execution of a contract, and to authorize the board chair or designee to execute the grant agreement, approve extensions, amendments, and increases to the grant appropriation not to exceed 15% of the original award. Summary. The FY27 budget includes $29,250 from AAA of West Michigan to administer senior center staffing in FY27. AAA of West Michigan has awarded KCCA $45,000 for this program in FY27, requiring an increase of $15,750 in appropriations. The funds will increase senior center hours of an existing KCCA FTE to ensure an enriching environment and the overall safety of the senior center at KCCA, which serves approximately 200 older adults per year through nutritious lunches, educational and recreational activities, and opportunities for friendship and socialization. The period of performance is October 1, 26 through September 30, 27.
Is there a motion for this item? Moved by Commissioner Oliver King. Is there support? Supported by Commissioner Womack. Questions or comments on this item? Commissioner McLeod.
Just a quick question. What does the FTE increase to with this additional funding? Is it a full FTE?
We have Gustavo this morning.
Good morning. It actually covers more of the part-time staff that we have. we were able to acquire a really good part-time person, Anna Marie, who has just been really engaging. We just were worried about how we could afford that, so it's going to allow us to continue to have her there. But we also have her with volunteers, so it allows her to, have a little bit more of that. The increase came a little bit as a surprise. We asked for it. We don't always get it. And so this was a good fit to keep that program long-term and that Anna Marie in that position long-term.
Clear, so it's a part-time position, but is it like half-time? Is it like?
It's halftime.
Half-time, okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments on this item? Okay, seeing no additional discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion passes. We are on to item J from Community Action Appropriation for Senior Housing Stability.
Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to accept and appropriate $74,592 in grant funds from the AAA Agency of West Michigan to fund the FY27 Kent County Community Action Fund budget for the Senior Housing Stability Program, contingent upon execution of a contract, and authorize the board chair or designee to execute the grant agreement and approve extensions, amendments, and increases, not to exceed 15% of the original award. Summary: the area aging of the AAA of West Michigan has tentatively awarded Kent County Community Action $74,592 to support housing stability services for older adults. Funding will be used to assist seniors experiencing or at a risk of homelessness through homelessness assistance, eviction, and foreclosure prevention, and services that help secure, safe, stable, and long-term housing. The program also works collaboratively with landlords by providing tenant support, mediation, and education, helping reduce risks for property owners while improving housing outcomes for older adults. The grant will utilize one existing FTE for this program and is expected to serve approximately 115 older adults during the 2027 program year. The period of performance is October 1, 26 through September 30, 27.
Is there a motion for this item? Moved by Commissioner Oliver King. Is there support? Supported by Commissioner Sparks. Questions or comments? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion passes. We are on to item K from Fiscal Services, Kent Hospital Finance Authority Revenue Bond Series 2026, Mary Free Bed Rehabilitation Hospital.
Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to approve a resolution authorizing the issuance, sale, and delivery of bonds not to exceed $60 million by the Kent County Hospital Finance Authority for Mary Free Bed Rehabilitation Hospital. Summary: Mary Free Bed Rehabilitation Hospital has requested that the Kent Hospital Finance Authority issue bonds and loan the proceeds to finance or refinance the construction, renovation, or equipping of certain capital improvements, including 1, acquisition and renovation to existing and new patient floors and patient tower and main hospital improvements, including roof replacements at the hospital's main campus in Grand Rapids, renovation of a professional office building or administrative services of the hospital, construction of a parking structure, and 4, renovation of outpatient clinic located in Grand Rapids, Michigan. 5, pay capitalized interest with respect to the bonds, and 6, pay the costs of issuing the bonds. The authority adopted an inducement resolution on October 14, 2026, and will hold a public hearing concerning the proposed bond issue on August 24, 2026, and anticipates adopting a resolution authorizing issuance of bonds on behalf of Mary Free Bed Rehabilitation Hospital in late August, early September of 2026. The resolution, if adopted, will approve the issuance, sale, and delivery of the bonds by the authority. The authorization granted by the county is solely for the purpose of complying with the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 as amended. This indebtedness will not constitute a general obligation or debt for the County of Kent. Bond counsel has reviewed all documents.
Is there a motion for this item?
So moved.
Moved by Vice Chair Hildebrand. Is there support? Supported by Commissioner Oliver King. Questions or comments on this item? Commissioner Pakla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Al, we're not issuing these bonds. We're not pledging our full faith or credit to these. What's the county's role in the approval process?
So, and I've seen other counties do this through an EDC mechanism. It's a mechanism that avoids certain fees that are baked into the Internal Revenue Code, so it makes the cost of issuance cheaper for the Hospital, but it sounds like there's more information. Please
Sure,
introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Peter Lozicki from Rhodes McKee. I'm counsel for the authority. These bonds will be issued, they're tax exempt bonds, and as part of that process, through the TEFRA public hearing process, we need to have the local government approve that. And so there, you're correct, it is not an obligation in any respect for the county. It's just part of that approval process for tax exempt bonds.
Okay, great, thanks.
Commissioner Ponstein.
Thank you, Chair Teal. So Al, obviously this is for Mary Free Bed rehabilitation. Can you refresh my memory? What does the Kent Hospital Finance Authority, what is the total scope and how many hospitals, I take it, they have helped?
Sounds like we have someone.
Sure, I'll answer that question too. So the authority, it was set up, I believe, in the 70s, really to serve as the issuer for bonds of hospitals located in Kent County. Historically, it's now Corwell, Pine Rest, Mary Free Bed. We have had issues for Metropolitan Hospital as well, but right now, that's really what we've done, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments on this item? Thank you. Seeing no additional discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion passes. We are on to our final action agenda item this morning from the Sheriff's Office Fiscal Year 2025 Homeland Security Grant Acceptance.
Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to accept the FY 2025 State Homeland Security Grant from the State of Michigan Department of State Police to appropriate $173,287 to the FY 26 Sheriff Emergency Management Homeland Security budget in the Special Projects Fund, and to authorize the board chair or designee to execute the intergovernmental agreement, approve extensions, amendments, and increases to the grant appropriation not to exceed 15% of the original award. Summary: the Michigan Department of State Police Emergency Management and Homeland Security Division provides federal pass-through funds for Homeland Security programs. The purpose of the FY25 Homeland Security Grant Program is to prevent, deter, respond to, and recover from incidents of national significance, including but not limited to threats and incidents of terrorism. Starting with the grant year 2006, Homeland Security grant funding allotments were allocated on a regional basis. Kent County was placed into Region 6, which is part of a 13-county region. The fiduciary for the grant is the West Michigan Regional Medical Consortium. Grant funds will be used to cover the personnel costs of the Homeland Security Planner, as well as for equipment purchases as determined by the local planning team of Kent County. The grant period is September 1, 25 to May 31, 28. Corporate Council will review and approve the intergovernmental grant agreement as to form.
Is there a motion for this item?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Green. Is there support? Support by Commissioner Halstead. Questions or comments on this item? Commissioner Pakla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Al, I was looking for a little bit of a narrative around more specifics of what we would use these dollars for, either have used them for in the past or what there was the little line in there that said covered the personnel costs of the Homeland Security Planner plus associated equipment costs. But can we get just a little bit more detail on?
We have Scott Corbin here, but let me start. It's really changed a lot over the years. I actually, with some of my staff, did the fund allocation strategic planning for this group way back. The amounts have changed, the application has changed, and really it's been narrowed down more to this focus. But Scott, go ahead and.
Yeah, good morning. Scott Corbin, Kent County Emergency Management Coordinator for the Sheriff's Office. So, yeah, the allocation has drifted down about 30% each year for the past several years, but we're about $173,000, which is being proposed. Of that, $100,000 roughly is for the planner cost to cover both cost of salary, but also benefits. So the other remaining cost, 35% of that cost, total cost, has to go toward what we call LETPA, law enforcement terrorism and prevention activities. So they have to go strictly to law enforcement itself. So about $50,000 of that dollars are going to go to an X-ray machine for Grand Rapids itself, the bomb squad. And then the other remaining is going to go into some communication systems or communication radios, which will be retained by and ownership by us, but they're going to be used by our Kent County Search and Rescue Program and be stored at our backup BOC.
Great, thank you for the detail.
Commissioner Womack.
Had a question for Al Vandenberg. Do you recall when we started with the Homeland Planner?
I mean, yes, I recall that era. I recall when the funds started providing the planner. I was in Ottawa County at the time, but yeah.
Okay, because I believe I remember too. So I also wanted to hear from the sheriff on this as we get closer to her retirement. Might be her last time to present for us, just to tell us the impact that you think these grant dollars are making in the community and public safety.
Good morning, everybody. Early 2000s, to your previous question, we were kind of thinking 2004, but I can't say for sure. The planning initiatives really started at the health department, so I'll give a shout out to the health department. They've been a very valuable partner for all of our public safety needs for Homeland Security. Impact to the community, so if you'd asked me that a decade ago, I would have said we were able to pool a lot of money to make large purchases that are really difficult to do independently in jurisdictions, pooled together to help work through both planning events and reacting to possible threats to that community, maybe weather or terrorists or just natural disasters that could happen. I would say the dwindling of those dollars over the years sometimes make it more cumbersome to get the money than how practical it is to use the money. But we put a big effort into making sure we get everybody together and making the best bite out of it we can, and move the resources from one community to another. This time it's the bomb squad with GR, because the GR bomb squad uses their resources to help all neighboring communities. So we try to use it in that way, but it's getting to be a point where there's so little money being distributed that I think globally we need to think of a better plan on how we're doing that, because you're not as being that effective. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
you.
And thank you for mentioning weather also, because I remember some of the tornadoes that went through Kentwood, and just the sheriff response and helping that community was instant, spontaneously, and it just was so on point. So just thank you for being so proactive.
Thank you.
Any other questions, or Commissioner Ponstein?
Thank you, Chair Teal. So Al, just a quick question for you. I mean, when this department of the federal government came about, we just spent billions and billions of dollars, and, we've been at it a long time. And now we're seeing monies being reduced. I mean, is there a lot of overlaps where, a city doesn't have to worry about it, a county doesn't, the state police has got a bomb squad, the city of Grand Rapids, I know the federal government does. I mean, is there too much going on that what really needs to be done isn't being addressed?
I think that there isn't too much overlap. I think that, our emergency management covers everybody but the city of Grand Rapids, and they have their own. But we work in great partnership with the state emergency management, and I think that the partnerships are strong, and I, at least in this area, I haven't observed a lot of unnecessary overlap.
Any other questions or comments on this item? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion passes. We are on to item 6 on our agenda, Commissioner comments. Are there any Commissioner comments this morning? Commissioner Green.
I just want to welcome and recognize the special guests of Commissioner Teal, who have been very well behaved today. So welcome to the county.
Thank you for that. Seeing no additional Commissioner comments this morning, we are adjourned. Thank you for joining us.